One of the most profound things I've learned in my life is that it's actually not about my hair at all. I've spent a lifetime trying to cover up who I am. And as much as I love a good external transformation, and I do, I much more love a heart transformation. Join me as I share how I work to heal my heart, find happiness, and embrace our hair. Okay, guys, we're trying something new today. So I've been wanting to do this on the podcast for a long time, which is just share my client experiences with you guys as part of the podcast. And this is Jackie, and Jackie has graciously volunteered to be my first guinea pig on the It's Not About Your Hair podcast, hair cutting edition. So we're going to go a little shorter, and we've played around with just layering in the front and leaving more length so you have more of a full shape. And we've also played around with layering a lot so you have more kind of a rounded shape. Which one did you lean into liking more?
The second one. The
more
rounded,
layers
yeah.
And less of the fullness through the bottom. Okay. Consultation's over, so we're just going into it. So Jackie, can you tell me, I don't know, because you have soft hair, so it's not overly frizzy, it's not wild. Do you have bad memories or experiences with your curls growing up, or do you feel like you've always liked and embraced your hair?
I do not. I really have bad memories or experiences. I do remember wanting it curlier and begging for a spiral perm. Remember those? In maybe 8th grade or 7th grade, something, and getting it permed one time, wanting it. So I wanted it curlier.
I feel like they permed everybody's hair. They permed my hair. They told my mom it would make my hair more uniform.
They did?
Yeah, I think that's just what they did in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. I remember wanting that spiral perm and going for it.
Did it make your hair curlier?
Yeah, I think for a short time it might have. Or it could have just been, I thought it did. But no, I've never hated it.
Never hated it.
Yeah, it's always been kind of... I think when I was younger, I didn't know how to take care of it. I didn't know how to take care of it really till a few years ago when I started seeing you.
Yeah, so I guess that would be my next question. What made you seek out a curly hair specialist if you were really not disappointed in your hair in general?
I wasn't ever disappointed with the curls, but I was disappointed with the wet look.
Oh, is that how you were wearing your hair?
I think I could. That's how I could kind of keep it in control, or keep the curls. It was like a crunchy wet look.
And you wore it like that all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you're like, that was it.
Yeah.
And so you feel like since you've started seeing a specialist, that has helped you. Were you able to go multiple days before you started seeing?
No. Well, I think I would, but it would be it would just get bigger and expand, Yeah. And the wet look would crunch out and I would just expand. So... No, I never got good multiple days out of it.
Okay, good. So you feel like also finding a routine that's helped you to understand your hair.
Yes. There was concepts I'd never heard of. I'd never known about a bonnet, never putting my product out of the shower, none of that.
Are you a bonnet girly all the time now?
Faithful bonnet.
Yeah.
Girly.
Do you get made fun of at home for wearing your bonnet?
A little bit.
Yeah. That's just part of that. We have to be okay with that.
If we have kids, I think it's a deal.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's the thing. My daughter, straight hair, has completely started wearing a bonnet.
Yeah, everybody's wearing a bonnet these days because friction causes frizz, you guys. And I think we should all be wearing a bonnet to bed. It's going to help no matter what your hair type is. To just not get as much frizz going on.
She'll even wear it around the house. My hair looks nice. I'm doing stuff around the house. I'll just have this bonnet on and not mess my hair up. I never do that.
Well, to be as brave as young people, right, the things that they do. I have a girlfriend that she mows her lawn in her bonnet. She don't care. The neighbors are out looking and she's just getting after it. It cracks me up. She's like, I ain't ruining a wash day. Which is totally true. I understand
I love that. I literally thought about that yesterday. I washed yesterday, and then we put a bunch of mulch down, so I was using the blower, and I'm like, this better not be getting in my hair. I should have just thrown my bonnet on.
Don't be worried. And you kind of live in the country, so people won't see you, right?
Yeah, no.
I
could safely do the bonnet. Nobody would know.
No one would know. I know. I think that people I've been really impressed. Again, I think it's young people are braver, but I've gone to the airport and seen all kinds of people wearing their bonnets, and I'm like, it's smart, you know?
I have noticed that too.
Just go
and like
for
the
it.
bonnets that are like longer for the braids.
Yes.
That they just wear those with no fear.
Yeah. I got fear around everything. I'm like, these guys are just owning it. Okay, that leads me. So one of the things that I wanted to really talk about with Jackie, or as a hairstylist, that I think is really fun, you guys, is the longevity of being a stylist gives you the opportunity to get to know people and ask questions throughout their life. And so Jackie and I have kids about the same age. Yeah? You have 2 kids. How old are they?
21 and 23.
21 and 23. And I have always admired, I just think Jackie's kids are brave. And I think that comes from having brave parents, or at least parents that are open to adventure. And I didn't grow up like that. I don't know if you did.
I did, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You grew up like that? Yeah. So I don't know what that looks like, but when I grew up, like, maybe it was we didn't have the money to travel, but it just wasn't something that was talked about. And I think I was a naughty kid, so everyone was just hoping I'd get by. No one was really planning for my next adventure. But both of your kids have been super brave, and so neither one of them went to college right outside of high school, did they?
My son did, but community college.
Okay. Yeah. But traveling was always kind of really important to both of your kids.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when my Sophie wasn't sure what she wanted to do, both Jackie's kids had done something called woofing, which stands for what?
Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms.
Yeah. And so she had told me about this, you guys, and her kids were so cool. So they weren't sure what they wanted to do, but they knew they wanted to do something, right?
Right.
And so can you tell them a little bit about where your kids ended up and what you thought about that when that happened? Because when Sophie didn't know what she wanted to do, I panicked a little, but I thought about you and all the things, like how you handled your kids transitioning, and I just really admired it. So talk about that a little bit, if you would.
Okay. So my son was a 2020 graduate, so he, like, kind of his plans were halted with COVID. Yeah, so he had planned to go to a university in northern Michigan, and I just couldn't justify sending him there and having him be in a dorm and not attending classes, and
because everything was online still?
Everything was still online.
Okay.
So he ended up going to community college for a couple years. But then his little sister, she had her heart set on, she decided she wanted to go to college in Hawaii. So we said, okay. She applied and got accepted.
I want to go to college in Hawaii too.
And we have no ties to Hawaii. No,
really?
No. And so once we started talking, she started to have some reservations. Oh, there's this downfall or not a negative thing, but just a downside to it. Once we got through to her and talked to her, really, she just wanted to travel to Hawaii. And we're like, well, there's other ways to do that besides commit to a 4-year degree there. So she, on her own, found this woofing, Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms, and applied, met with some different farmers, and committed to 3 months working on a farm. Basically, no money's exchanged. You just go work on a farm in exchange for room and board. So she...
And were you scared when she's like, Mom, I think I'm going to do this? Or were you excited for her? Was there a mix of like, oh my God, this is a horrible idea?
No, I was excited for her. Even just in applying, she learned quite a bit. She learned some political things in Hawaii and how they feel about being part of the U.S. She learned quite a bit just in applying and learning about it and doing her research. So I was excited for her. The way she kind of goes all in, I thought, is she ever going to come back home?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that, I was a little afraid of that. And we just didn't have any fallback. Like other places, you could call upon a family member, an aunt or an uncle. We didn't have that there, but off she went.
Yeah, and then your son, he did it after her or at the same time?
Yeah. So she lasted the whole 3 months in Hawaii.
She was 18.
She was 18, yes. Yep. And she did have, a rough first week or so, and called and like, this is different than I would have ever expected. And my husband's like, we can't buy her a ticket. She's got to last a week.
Oh, God.
And then
yeah.
after that week, she was, golden and loved it. And then I began to think, is she ever going to come home? Yeah, so she did that whole time there working on a fruit farm and coffee beans and loved it. And then when she was done, my husband and I and one of her friends flew out for a trip, and she showed us all around, and that was pretty cool. And then I think she kind of had planted that seed in her brother, like, hey, if my little sister's getting to travel, I want to try this.
And did she need... So my daughter ended up doing that too, based on some of the experiences that your kids have had. Did she need any money to do that experience to go there?
You have to pay for your own transportation to get there.
Okay.
But once you get there, in theory, you don't need any money.
Right.
And we come to find out, there's no Ubers in Hawaii. At least
anywhere?
She was on the Big Island and big cities, Kona, and there were no Ubers. So we found out that hitchhiking's a thing, and very common.
My land.
There is a bus system, but it's sort of unreliable. So my little 18-year-old figured out how to hitchhike.
My land.
Like when she got to her farm, there was a girl her age from Sweden who'd been there for a few months, who has become quite a good friend. So she was able to kind of show her the ropes. So she was hitchhiking with another girl, but still. But yes, no money really. The food is provided. Even like on the weekends, they'd go to the beach or go on hikes. All that was provided. I think she did spend some money, doing little shopping and things.
But you can really go, and anyone can do it as long as you're physically capable. Like, you don't have to be a certain age. So if you and I wanted to just,
Once we watched, there's like a parent video for woofing. We watched this video, and my husband was like, I would like to sign up for this.
Yeah,
you can go with your kids. You can go with a friend. Yeah, you can go any age.
Yeah, and you can go from anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months is the longest, right? Isn't that kind of the deal?
I think so, yeah. And I think it might even be a weekend. I think it can
a weekend.
I think it can be less than 2 weeks. Like, I'm traveling through, I need a place to stay, I'll stop and work on your farm. I think it can be shorter.
Yeah, so this is kind of what we've even thought about now that we just have one kid at home, is if you want to go somewhere and be in the culture for a longer period of time. Like, you wanted to go 2 or 3 weeks, but you couldn't afford to go on vacation 2 or 3 weeks because they're only allowed, at least our farmer, to work so many hours.
Yes. Wasn't it like 20 hours a week or 30
hours? I think it was 30.
30 hours a week.
I think my Soph got roped into a little bit more, but she didn't mind it. I don't know what Daisy's experience was.
I heard she never really had to do extra.
Okay. Yeah, so if you wanted to go with your family and go work on a farm, I mean, you're really immersed in that culture, and then you're really only paying for your airfare, and you could explore, and they're all over the world. So that leads to your son. Where did he go?
He did his couple years at community college and decided to go to Italy. So there was this Wolf International. So he signed up for that, and he had his first farm booked. So his first 2 weeks in Tuscany. So he flies into Zurich, doesn't speak any Italian, figures out how to get transfer from Zurich, Switzerland to a bus or train, and gets to Italy.
Oh my gosh.
And then he called us, and he was in this beautiful guest house that was like 2 stories and just gorgeous. And he's showing us all the rooms, and he's so excited. It just looks like straight out of a movie. And we're like, do not show this to your sister.
She didn't have quite the same.
Her accommodations were a little rougher. Do not show this to your sister. So he spent 2 or 3 weeks there.
Because you don't know what your accommodations are going to be.
No, you have like a Zoom meeting with the person, and you do see some photos, but you don't really know how nice it's going to be.
And you kind of have to go with an open mind. Sophie went somewhere, and there was like campers on the property. One shed turned into a bunkhouse. She actually got to stay in the main house, but it was an interesting experience. But if you go with an open mind, so he had this amazing experience on this farm in Tuscany, olive farm, right?
This first place was a wine vineyard.
Oh, okay.
But then he, while he's there, he's booking his next places. So he ended up doing like 5 different farms and staying all over Italy. But he did also, one of his stays was in a camper with, I think, some mice. But that was like his favorite family. There was a little grandma.
Was that the grandma that always wanted to feed him?
Yes, that he just fell in love with. And that was an olive farm. And he's back and going into forestry, and I think that had an impact on it. Like, he already was kind of a tree guy, but that olive farms, and I think that kind of sealed the deal for him.
Oh, that's
so 5 different parts of Italy he got to stay in for a few weeks each and experience and see the families. And he just loved it. And he wouldn't have been able to see all those places. And he did some little bits of traveling on his own in between, stayed in some hostels. Like he wanted to go to Rome, but he didn't find a woofing job there. So he just did that on his own. But you can stay 90 days, or his travel visa, he could stay 90 days, and he stayed 89.
Wow.
Which made me a little bit nervous. Like, maybe you should get home. But while he was in Italy, our daughter had found a job to do in Spain. She wanted to go to Spain. She didn't do that through woofing, though. She, the Swedish girl she'd met through woofing introduced her to this. She signed up to be an au pair in Spain for a cute little 5-year-old girl.
And she learned about that through someone she met woofing,
exactly,
right? And then she went and became an au pair for how long?
She also did like 89 days. She could get the 90-day visa as well. I think she might have been 88. She was a little safer than her brother.
Okay.
And while she was there in Spain, she was able to go to Sweden for a weekend and see that girl she'd met in Hawaii. So that's been fun.
And now she's in college.
Yeah. Yes, our little travel bug. All of a sudden she decided she was going to go to college. She did kind of pursue studying in Spain.
Okay.
And that was a little more involved than we realized. And it just was going to be kind of delayed, and I think she still has dreams of it, but at this point she found a university in New Mexico, which we have no ties to. And I had never been to New Mexico, and went and visited it with my husband and signed up.
That was it.
Yeah, she just finished her first year there.
And this is, you guys, this part is like, I think, so crazy. So and why I love my job as a hairdresser. So when my Sophie originally started beauty school and then was like, oh, I just don't love it. And I could only pull from my fear-based experience of, oh, she's going to end up living in her bedroom the rest of her life and like not do anything. And I called Jackie and I was like, listen, can you talk to me about your kid's experience with woofing? And she's like, oh yeah. And then you had Sophie over for dinner and let her just kind of rub up against your kids. And I think that this is really a magical thing that I think in our culture sometimes we're missing real relationships. I'm kind of lucky that I get clients that are friends, and it just evolves because some people don't get to see people on a regular basis or talk to them. And so you had Sophie over, and Sophie left inspired, I think. And then you're always hoping that your kids will have a connection somewhere, you know. And Sophie is now, I can't say exactly where, but she's stationed somewhere that your daughter is close by. And I thought, I'm telling you about it at our appointment, so our kids have crossed all these similar paths, and then you come in and what's the update? Because both of our kids went woofing, and I said, well, Sophie just got stationed in the middle of nowhere. You're like, that's exactly where Daisy's at. And I'm like, what are the odds of this? And so whether or not these 2 young 19-year-old girls can fend for each other, it's still exciting to just know that you think the world is so big. And I mean, even when your son was in Italy, didn't he meet up with people that he knew there?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I think the world is so much smaller than we think, you know, and there's always a connection point if we're looking for it, and why I think community is important. And I just thought that was really awesome. And I know that the episode on Sophie woofing is one of my most watched episodes, because I think a lot of parents are afraid to let their kids explore and not take the conventional path.
Yeah. And I think we do our kids a little bit of a disservice by saying like, oh, where are you going to college?
Yeah.
Like, instead of just saying like, what are your plans? And I'm still reteaching myself that.
Yes.
Yeah, what are your plans for this summer or for moving forward, instead of where are you going to college? Yeah.
I agree. And you and I have a few other clients really helped me to like, why so much pressure? Here's what I think we shouldn't do. We shouldn't be afraid of letting our kids go, which a lot of people are, and I've been afraid of that too. Like I think a lot of parents were like, well, I'm going to let them take a gap year, but they think the gap year is letting them just lay in their bedroom and rest.
Yeah.
Or scroll the internet until they're paralyzed with fear of comparison, right?
Yeah.
Versus it costs very little to go on a woofing experience. If your kid is stuck at home, or you are stuck at home and you're 30 years old and you don't know what you want to do, I think the path of taking that one next step to get you out of your comfort zone is probably the most important. So whether that's college, and I think sometimes we accept college as the answer, but college is really expensive if that's not what you want to do. So why not take a year to go explore? And then you find all these other paths you're interested in.
I definitely, I can see how my kids are better for it. They are, less intimidated trying to figure things out. They've had to navigate public transportation in other countries. After that, you can do anything, I think. Their approach to college has been different. Instead of sending off my, kind of scared 18-year-olds, they are much more confident.
Yeah, and my Sophie she had talked about joining the military, and I was kind of freaked out because I'm like, honey, you don't like to be away from the house. Maybe you should try something else first before you commit. And now she, fast forward a year later from that experience, she realized she could. She didn't have to be afraid, and she did end up joining the military, and it hasn't been always sunshine, but I think exactly your point. She knows she can do it, which I think is so fun,
Yeah.
And so I think, again, being brave, whether that's I know it sounds silly, the connection, but whether that's in your hair routine or with your kids or trying something new yourself, I think that is where we end up changing the most, or asking for help. I have never gone to Jackie's house for dinner myself, but I reached out and asked for help, and you invited my kid over. And so I think about that too. As women, I watch this a lot. I think we struggle alone sometimes. We don't talk about what's hard or what's good, and we just kind of struggle through. And so when you ask for help, I'm always surprised how much help is out there. And I think that's part of why I like these little experiences behind my chair. I get to travel lots of places because people share their traveling experiences with me, but also I just get to rub up against people doing cool stuff. So, okay, let's segue into what do you find, this is totally off the topic of kids, but what do you find the most that you like about your curly hair? Or having curly hair?
I find the most I like about it.
What do you like most about it?
I think just simple, like the movement of it. Like it's not,
stuck to your head.
Yes.
Did you used to wear it straight? Or have you always?
I've always kind of worn it curly.
Wow.
Somehow I didn't go through like the straightener phase.
Well, and probably you can tell by looking at Jackie, she has that type of hair. Like, it looks better. So we're 40 minutes into cutting her hair, and it looks, I don't know if better is the word, but it still looks awesome, even though we've been touching it and touching it and touching it. Where a lot of times hair like mine, you touch it for 40 minutes and it unpacks crazy. You can get away with doing a lot of stuff to your hair and it still looks great.
Oh, that's nice.
Would you think that's true?
Sometimes, and then sometimes I'm like, what did I do? Like, well, how did this happen? Yeah.
What was like what?
Or what did I wear that it rubbed on? I'm like, whew, what did I do? I did something wrong. Or I think, did I miss a step in my product application? But most of the time, it's pretty easy going.
Well, and I love that. So you're able to troubleshoot yourself like that. Like a lot of times if you're underneath a straight or snarly, what did I wear? Was I wearing something that created a lot of friction? Did I pull my hair up? Did I forget to wear my bonnet? Like, understanding your hair helps you to be able to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you one more question, not about your hair. You're transitioning now like I am. I'm not there yet. I have 3 years left. But with kids not at home anymore, which I feel like life is so seasonal, you know, when you're in the middle of parenting. And I don't know, I often can't decide what is the hardest season of parenting. I used to think it was 5 and under because it just requires so much of your attention, you know?
Yes,
5 and under. I think that the transition from senior to young adult might be equally as hard in a different way because you want to do everything you can, but you really have no thing you can do. Does that make sense? Like, you can't fix that. They have to go through it, you know, and transition. So you're in a new season. Both of your kids are pretty much out of the house. They're home for the summer. Have you found, and I didn't tell you I was going to ask this, so if it's too hard, but I see a lot of people, has that been hard for you to navigate not having kids at home? Has it been good? Do you find yourself bored? Are you filling up that time? What's that look like?
No, it's been good. I think we've adjusted to it and we kind of have our own little routine. With my kids home for a few weeks right now, like they stay up late. I'm like, well, I go to bed now. So I'm trying to get the most time with them as I can and staying up. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can't keep this up. But no, I've enjoyed it. Like my husband and I kind of found our own little route.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed it. I miss them. And I heard this said once, a parent is only as happy as their least happy child. And when they call and they're having a hard time, that throws me off. Like, I don't know how to separate myself or not let it affect me, you know. Or they call and they're super excited about something, and then I'm like on cloud nine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is interesting. And you don't know the way your dynamics change in your house. You know, when one kid leaves, you know, I feel like when Sydney left for college, I missed her, but we had 2 super busy kids still, that you weren't always thinking about what she was doing. So if you watch this, I don't think you do, honey. I thought about but it was like you're so busy and I still had a million things.
Yeah.
And then when Sophie left this last year, we're down to just Sadie, and it does change. You're like, how did I? First of all, parenting is incredible. I think it's incredible because how do you be your own person and build all your own dreams and help other people grow and be responsible? Like when you look back now, because sometimes, so now we just have Sadie at home and I'm just as busy. I don't feel like I'm less busy or like it's just transitioned to something else. And you think, how did we do all the things? And you're just equipped for those seasons, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, like, I don't know how to respond to this. And then I just kind of break it down. Like, I don't know how to respond to this idea that they want to do, and break it down and try to figure it out little piece by piece. But yes, parenting is legit. It's no joke.
It's no joke.
It's no joke.
And you're just trying to, I think for me, what I've learned from watching you and watching your kids, I'm very lucky to be able to look from the outside. And what I hope to rub off on other people is that it doesn't have to look a certain way, and to take the pressure valve off of our kids and off of ourselves a little bit. Like, I had a client who's a therapist who's so awesome. And the year where Sophie didn't really know what she wanted to do, she asked me this question. I think about it all the time. She said, do you think that Sophie is a responsible young lady? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, do you think that she has always shown good character and that she will do stuff with her time in her life? And I'm like, yeah. She said, then I would soak up this summer and make it the summer of Soph, because you know that she's going to do something with your guidance and your support. And that summer I was worried because she was dropping out of beauty school and she didn't know what she was going to do. And I was obsessing about her laying in her bedroom. Like, she's going to be laying in her bedroom. And to take that pressure off myself too, or if you're a parent at home with a kid in the transition. Now, if they're 30 and they've been laying in their bedroom for 10 years, they got to go. But if it's one summer of wrestling, I would encourage, and I didn't know this was okay, to wrestle it out as long as you're working, doing something every day to move into understanding yourself a little bit more. And even as people. Like, I'm changing again, which I'm sure you are too, with more time and new experiences, allowing ourselves the opportunity to change and to grow and to change our mind, which I think a lot of times I hear parents are disappointed in their kids when they go off to college or they do something and they change their mind. Oh, I don't want to do that because it costs $10,000 or something to change your mind. $10,000 is nothing in the big picture of life, but make them responsible for it. You don't have to eat the 10 grand, you know, like, it sucks. We don't want them to have debt, but what we want them to have is skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important.
Yes. Yeah. And I think those, like, that summer of soap.
Yeah.
Like, I think they come out better for it if you like the lady your friend asked you, if you know these things about her character, she's gonna come out better for it. Like, she's taking this time figuring things out, knowing this is a safe spot to be.
Yeah.
And they come out better for it. I think my kids taking that time has made it almost where they won't change their major. Like,
exactly.
They know they're more confident going in.
Exactly. And we think, oh, they shouldn't travel like that. This is a great way to travel. And I think traveling, for me, I just started traveling for work in the last 4 or 5 years. Traveled more than I've traveled my whole life. And I think I'm a different person now. I used to be afraid to get onto an airplane. I keep my little, you guys, I keep these here as a reminder because I think it's so cool. I got these because the flight attendant noticed I was nervous by myself 4 years ago when I got on the plane 5 years ago, maybe. I keep them in here as my reminder that if we keep exposing ourselves to new experiences, that visceral response of fear turns to excitement. And it becomes this awareness that there's so much more. And
yes, there's other ways to live. There's other types of people. It's broader than the little area we grew up in.
Right, and I'm not losing my kids. This is the thing too. I think we can lose our kids in our own home.
Yeah.
More than we can lose our kids letting them go. And that's been a big lesson I've had to learn because I always stayed close to my mom. But I don't always see my mom or even close with her sometimes, you know, where I feel like my Sophie is far from me, but very close to me.
Yes,
I know
that's
her
a really good
very
point.
well, you know, as well as she'll let me. And my Sydney is close, but I do feel close to her too. And so creating a space that our kids can talk to us, which I wasn't always good at when they were little because I wanted them to conform to the way that I thought they should be. And as they get older, I'm like, all I want to do is know them really well. And I think, again, I really feel like you've helped me see that, like, they're not behind. That's a pressure that gets put on from school and all these things. And I'm 45 years old, and in the last 10 years changed the shape of my career 3 times because it didn't feel right. And we have to be willing to move, like you said, so that we're not stuck and miserable.
I definitely have heard people say, like, oh, I'm going to off to college, and then when I'm done, I'm going to take this big trip, or I'm going to take a year and travel. And that might work for some people, but I also think once you graduate college, you're like, I've got to get in this workforce. I don't want to have this. I
got all this debt.
Yeah, I've got this debt, or I want to use my skills straight away, and then it may not happen, this traveling for a year. So it's worked well for us to have our kids do it when they were young, and a gap year is pretty common in other countries, and I don't think it's as common here.
And encouraged. That's what you taught me. Like, all the kids that they, like, were from other countries that were doing this
very common. 1 year of a gap year, or even 2 years of a gap year. And then I think they're more confident in themselves, and they know what direction they want to go, and then they set off in life. But I think my kids are both going to end up being travelers. I was raised a traveler, but I'm not. I mean, I travel, but I don't try crazy new places.
You don't?
I mean, maybe I do. I don't know. But my brother he's lived in the Bahamas for 25 years. He's quite a traveler, and I feel like he's encouraged them.
Yeah.
I go to the Bahamas a lot because that's where
your brothers
people are.
Say,
yeah. But, the kids are braver, I think, than me. And so they've taught me things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I would say that in this stage of my parenting, I think, you know, the beginning of my parenting, I was afraid, and I taught fear to my kids because your kids are picking up through is an osmosis, just kind of like being around. And then when I decided, listen, I want to change my life, I want to do something different, and I was very open with my kids, like, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do this anyways. And that I've seen them be braver than I ever was at their age because
Yeah.
they're watching other people. Me, you, all these people around them are like, we can do this. And so that's, I guess, mostly what I feel like I want you guys to get from this episode is just pretend like we all just sat down and had coffee together, and we really do learn. You don't have to be so worried that your kids are gonna mess it all up.
Yeah, it's similar to those. I never thought about it, but it's similar to those little milestones when they're little. Like, oh, is your child sitting up? Is your child? It all evens out. They all end up great.
Yeah,
you know.
Some don't, but then
but like those little milestones that you're so nervous about. Like, oh, my baby has teeth and yours doesn't have teeth yet, or whatnot. It all evens out, and I think my kids took an extra year or two. It hasn't changed. It hasn't put them behind in life. I don't feel like.
Right. In so many ways, it's put them ahead because some kids go off or they don't leave the house or, and again, I'll say one more example. When Sid wanted to go to college, my biggest fear, I had her when I was 19 and I was very young. She went to college at 17 and I tried to encourage her to stay home. Go to community college. It's cheaper. You don't want to be in debt because my fear was around money. Don't be riddled. I have work. And she said, Mama, I really want to go to school, and I'm like, God, the best. I'm so glad she was more powerful than me and knew what she wanted. I think for her going away to college, she needed that. She needed to be so far from home that she couldn't come home every weekend when she was uncomfortable.
And she thrived there.
She thrived.
Yeah,
she went back and said she didn't like it, but my gal, she's awesome. And then Soph was like, I don't want to go to college, at least not right now. And allowing her the freedom to say, okay, you don't have to, and what is it that you want to do, and not putting our fears on our kids.
Yeah.
So that was my, I think, big takeaway, and it still happens. And so if it's happening to you, but put your belief on your kids.
Yeah.
I believe you're capable. I believe the world is open and better than it is good, more good than it is bad. I think that there's so many more people willing to help than not. And those aren't the messages that we hear a lot. And so I think, my gal, if we could all just do that. Yeah, awesome
beautiful people. Yes.
And then they brought them all to your house, haven't they?
They have brought some people back, yes, for visits. And it's given them more friends around the world. It's been great. And when my daughter wanted to do that, I kind of was like, okay, I resolved to like, this is okay. I can accept this. But what I learned afterward is it wasn't just something to accept. It was like a positive thing. Like, I just kind of thought like, okay, I'll give her this year to do what she wants to do. She came out of that year so much better.
Yeah, myself too. And if you guys are just tuning in and this is like your first time catching the podcast, Sophie's been on the podcast twice, and I would encourage you if you're a parent, because that's really what I wanted this to be about, was parenting, and less about hair, but more about heart. And you watched the episode where she didn't know what she wanted to do. There's an episode on that, to the episode after she came home from wolfing, and her entire countenance is different. When you learn, we're not all, I've said this to my kids a lot, and this will be our closing, is that it's okay to be scared. That doesn't mean you're an anxious person or you're socially awkward. These are things that we get told, but that's not true. Everyone's scared when they do something new.
Yeah.
It's even scary to get your hair cut for the first time by someone new. This pans out though. Look how good it is. But new things are scary. That doesn't mean you have anxiety or that you're an anxious person or that you can't do that because of this. It just means you're scared. And that's okay. Do it anyways. And then you become something totally different, right? Any closing thoughts on for any of our young moms listening out there that are stuck in the weeds?
Oh, geez. No, props to the young moms.
I know.
It is a hard time. Yeah, and it's worth it. It's so worth it. Every ounce you pour into those kiddos is worth it.
And this too shall pass. And then one day you'll look back kind of like this haircut and be like, hot dang, that turned out pretty darn good. Yeah. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Remember, you're worthy of love. Your kids are going to be just fine. And if they're not, my therapist, this little golden nugget, he said, your kids are going to turn out because of you and in spite of you. So you can't take all the credit and you can't take all the blame. So you're doing a good job. Thanks, Jackie. Okay, guys, here's our after. Look at how beautiful. So we've just kind of brought these layers up. I just refreshed using a light layer of Sweet Spirit, Hair Love Prep Spray mixed with I Create Shine, and then a tiny bit of lift. Isn't it beautiful? I guess this is where I ask you to subscribe to my channel, to follow me on social, and to listen wherever podcasts can be found. And join me every Tuesday at 2 as we unpack how to heal your hair, your heart, and your happiness.